فلسطينيين 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 وبدنا نحميها للقاع 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 واليوم اليوم اليوم واليوم اليوم اليوم عيدك يا بلدي عيدك يا بلدي عيدك نحفظ ونقابل بعضنا نحفظ ونقابل بعضنا.
Saw the movie before from your visit. Iyad, he told me, wow, where is that? Where is that? Where is that? And you were like some of the photos in the video, it was inside of Jerusalem and the way from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem from
Yes.
the airport. And I explained to Iyad that this is the new bridge in Jerusalem, this is the new train in Jerusalem, things that Iyad never saw from ever in his life, and maybe I hope one day it will happen.
Can I ask you another question,
But it's
Iyad?
come on, sorry.
You told us your brother has 15 years in jail. He's still in jail?
أخوك 15 سنة بالسجن بعده بالسجن.
له 9 سنوات باقي له كمان 6 سنين.
He spent 9 years and 6 years left.
There's 6 years left. In those 9 years, how many times were you able to visit him?
9 سنوات كم مرة أنت قدرت تزوره؟
مرة.
One time.
Why is that?
ليش؟
ممنوع من إسرائيل.
It's not allowed by the Israelis because the jails of the Palestinians it's inside of Israel.
So actually when your family members are in prison you cannot hardly visit.
بدك تشرح لي انه هن بيعرفوش بالضبط كيف الاشياء بتشتغل.
ليش بصير انه هاي السجون داخل حدود اسرائيل؟
These jails, Israeli prisons, it's inside of the Israelis. It's on the Israeli side.
مثلا اخوي في سجن في صحراء النقب.
My brother he's in the Negev, south of Israel prison, in the desert.
في هناك جدار وفي معابر.
And in order to get there you need to pass the borders and the separation wall.
طبعا بتسيطر عليها اسرائيل.
And it's all controlled by Israelis.
اذا انا بدي ازور او اهلي بدهم يزوروا ما بقدر يفوتوا الا بتصريح من اسرائيل وعن طريق الصليب الاحمر.
So if I want to visit my brother or my family wants to visit, you need to get a special permit from the Israelis and from the Red Cross organization.
Later on there will be possibilities of asking questions because I can see people being puzzled and wanting to act, but before we do that I would like to hear also Yaniv's story because there's two stories. There's the Palestinian story, there is the Israeli story. And what I learned in Combatants for Peace is that you have to keep the balance. Very important inside of the movement, the balance.
I will try to...
Oh, you will do it with that? Okay.
So I'm Yaniv, I'm 39 years old. I'm Israeli. I was raised and grew up in Ofakim, which is a development town in the south, in the desert, in the south of Israel. The town was established, such towns were established during the 50s and 60s to absorb the immigrants, mostly from Arab countries. My parents immigrated from Tunisia. Most of the... Hello. We can exchange recipes after. So my parents immigrated from Tunisia, and most of my neighbors in my town are from Morocco, Algeria, Iraq, Iran, Jews of course. When they immigrated, my father immigrated when he was 19 years old. He knew only few Hebrew from the prayer back in Tunisia, but he spoke Arabic and French. So one of his first jobs was, after his army service, was to serve in the occupation of Gaza. He served in the civil administration officer because he spoke Arabic, both Arabic and Hebrew. First as a translator, and later on as the one that's responsible for the working permission of the people of Gaza to work in Israel. One of my memory of my childhood, that one day he came back from Gaza. They live really close to Gaza, in Israeli territory, but very close to Gaza, like 30 minutes drive, even less. He came back with the car smashed with stones, and I asked him what happened, and then over my childhood, many Palestinians from Gaza came to my house in Israel. It was allowed. And I understood from my father that this is people that work with him, they are collaborated with the Israeli, he didn't call it occupations, of course, with the Israeli. Their people not always like them, but I have to understand that it's a zero-sum game. Maybe they are like a friends, but it's either us or them. And until these days, my father is a right-wing, extreme, not extreme, but right-wing and outline Zionist. So he came back from his work, his car was smashed, and ever since the security service in Israel gave him a plate for the car, a Gazian plate, a different plate in the occupied territory, a different plate in Israel. And me, as a child, very small child, every morning I replaced his plate in the car to put like Gaza, and when he came back from work, Israeli plate. Other memories from the childhood, I will skip up my childhood. When I was 12 years old, I decided, I asked my parents to go to study in boarding school in Jerusalem. The reason I did it because in this development town in the desert for the North African Jews, the situation is really bad. Unemployment, the education system is really bad. And if you want to have a good chances to get education later on, you should go to a boarding school. I went to Jerusalem. It was 1987, the first Intifada. I remember the fear in the street, the fear and the hatred. I love a soccer team that is really fascist, Jerusalem soccer team. People in the crowd yell, "Dead to the Arab, dead to the Arab." For me, I remember I was right-wing, but it was very difficult to yell it because I knew all this Arab from my father's work. I also remember the drives in the buses of Jerusalem, when you are scared to be that the bus will explode. And we had one day in the boarding school to go out to travel in Jerusalem, and we all were scared. I remember that everyone looked for Arab faces if some Arab go to the bus, and then I realized that people also look at me because I also look like Arab. So at the beginning, like you were the suspected person to go to the bus, and then you sit and look for other Arab look person. So it was kind of I think that this complexity, I didn't realize, I didn't understood it, but it trickled down to my consciousness. In one of my vacations, summer vacation, I went back to my parents. In the summer we spent with the parents, to Ofakim, and my father organized me to work in construction building in this development town, to build many big buildings for the new immigrants from Russia, Jewish immigrants that came from Russia. And in my team, we were 9 people from Gaza, Palestinian, with working permit, and myself. It was very important and meaningful experience for me. It was first time to very close with Palestinians that are not collaborators with the regime, with the occupation, but just work there. One of my friends there, his name was Hareb, war in Arabic, and he explained me that he was born in 1967. A war, I knew that it's a 6-day war, the victory of Israel occupying all this territory, and for him it was a disaster, the Naksa for the Palestinian, and it was also, I still was a right-wing in my opinion, but I realized that there are other people that suffer and experience our history differently. Then I joined the Israeli army. I served in tanks. I was combatant. I was a commander. In my reserve duty, after the 3 years, we also do reserves of 1 month every year. I served in the occupied territory. I had not easy experiences to be the occupier, to be a soldier, to oppress Palestinians, to be in checkpoint. Still, I saw that as an Israeli that consider myself humanist, I will treat the Palestinian differently. But you cannot do that. This is what I realized. You can try to prevent other people from doing really bad things, but the very fact that you are occupier in the West Bank was not possible for me. But I didn't refuse to go to this reserve. It was I consider it as something really extreme. Later on, I went to do my graduate studies in the United States, and I studied Christian Zionists, evangelical Protestants that loved Israel. You have many of them in the Netherlands as well. They view the establishment of Israel as the prophecies of the Bible and the sign that Jesus is going to come back. That's the reason they support the Israeli state. At the beginning, I loved them. I studied them. But they support it was the time of the Hezbollah and Israel war, between Hezbollah in Lebanon and Israel in the north, and they supported Israel where all the world were criticized. But later on, when I did my research, I realized that my Zionism, my love to Israel, is very different from them, for their view, and I start asking myself questions about my political views, about my religion, my religious identity. When I came back to Israel, my first research was in Palestinian village, Bilaim, very famous one. It was about the involvement of international tourists in the local struggle. The only one in this setting in Bilaim, the international tourists, the Israeli anarchists, and the locals, I felt connected and welcomed me, only the Palestinian villager. The anarchists didn't accept me, I don't know, for many reasons, that this is not the place to elaborate. The international tourists also were very suspicious, but the local people in Bilaim welcomed me. And then when I came back to Tel Aviv, I looked for group. I realized that I cannot live anymore in the Israeli society as an Israeli without doing something to end the occupation. And I wanted to fight for the liberation of the Palestinians, in which I will feel comfortable. And I found Combatants for Peace. It's the only group of binational group that work together to end the occupation in non-violent way. This is our first principle, and do it binationally. And I, like Yad, I think that what we are doing is not important only for today to end the occupation, but also for our children, our Palestinian children and Israeli children, that in the future, inshallah, there will be a peace. They will be able to look at the past and to understand that some people in the past worked together non-violently to end the situation. And that's all.
Thank you.
رفعنا فوق